Welcome to the Foundation for the Study of Cycles, to another episode of Cycles TV. My name is Lars von Thienen and welcome to another weekly episode. Today I want to review copper and dynamic cycles in the asset of copper. So we're often reviewing metals. I've talked about gold, we've talked about uranium. So it's also time to review the price action copper, just purely related to cycle analysis. So this session is dedicated to analyzing copper and time-based cycles in that metal. As always, this is education. This is no financial advice. This is just analyzing time-based cycles in that metal. This is what we're doing here on that channel. I will jump into the copper chart. So I have loaded let's start with the daily. So these are the daily futures, copper futures, which we see here on the chart. We have the big rise around 5 with this major high, and the rise here in the past, and in the beginning of this year here, peaking at that point. So if we have a little bit more data into our analysis, where the basic starting point is always using this 850 bars, so the current past, not too much, but just the current market action of copper to analyze the spectrum. So here we see the spectrum if we just use the current action in that asset. And here also, to have a view, we have a clear short-term cycle, which is seen in that spectrum. I mean, it's quite short. 56 days is a very short cycle. What's interesting is here the second peak is 111, which I would call a harmonic relation to that cycle. So multiply 52 by 56 by 2, you arrive at around 112. So this is a clear harmonic relation. So there might be these two cycles, or this is one cycle with the harmonic child or the parent, depends on the perspective, seems to be most active. And they are also those two cycles which are picked by our AI, which helps us identifying the relevant cycles in the spectrum. So also this is what the computer would use, 56, 111. So therefore, let's have a check of those two cycles if we just activate them in our spectrum. So this is the real short-term cycle, which seems indicating a peak here around May. So this is what we're talking about here in May. And this down there could now last into the mid of June. But it's a very short-term indication, which is also in alignment with the current crossing of the cyclic RSI, or the cyclic tuned relative strength indicator. So this top is alignment. So there should be a short-term continuation of their down move here. And also checking the parent of this cycle, or double the length, which is also in alignment. So both cycles indicate the same signal here. By end of May they have peaked, so the 46 trading days and the 112 trading days, indicating a continuation into even mid-July. So short-term perspective is those two cycles would indicate continuous downward pressure or movement, at least for the next 4 weeks to come, until mid or the second half of June. So in alignment with the technical sell signal. So there's way also to the downside before also the technical condition might reveal maybe in the second half of this month. But that's only the short-term perspective. As you know, we need to set this into perspective of the longer-term cycles, which we use here the weekly series. So therefore, let's now switch to the weekly data set. So this is the weekly. Sorry, I forgot to mention one interesting fact here on that chart. So let's have a closer look without picking one or two dominant cycles, which I just did before. There's also another interesting situation if we analyze today's point. And if you have a close look at the right part of the screen where you see the tables view for all detected cycles in the current past of copper, you will find out that you just see red marked cycles. All cycles which could be part of the asset are in a downward stage of the respective cycle. Yeah, this is what I'm seeing here. So if you just scroll down that list, it doesn't matter again which cycle you pick from the short-term perspective, all are in their red cyclic phase, meaning they're in their downward phase, and even other cycles are close to topping, so they will also convert into a downward topping. There's no bottoming cycle, not just one, but 17. It's anyhow too short. So all cycles are in their downward stage or are close to topping, which would indicate short-term perspective daily. Even though I pick the most dominant ones, every daily cycle is now pointing downwards, which from the daily cycle analysis just shows the downward pressure should continue from the daily cycles. That's it on the daily. Now let's move to the weekly. So this is the weekly data series. Now the weekly, using the same approach, looking at the spectrum first. So this is the behavior. Here we have a different view, starting with the spectrum. So we have a mixture of green and red marked cycles, which means all cycles which could be part of that analysis. We always need to try to find the most dominant one here, which then guides us into the future, what to expect. So here we see a mixed bag of green, orange, and red cycles. So they are all in different stages. So here it's more important to identify the dominant ones. Looking into the spectrum, we will find a clear one, which is here outlined at 190 weeks, which is also found at the top of our list, which is picked as the most dominant cycle by our computer-guided algorithm to pick the right cycles. So 190 weeks. Also by visual inspection, there's a clear separation of these shorter cycles here, and then there's a huge gap until we arrive at that point here from the amplitude. The shape of that peak in the spectrum is very nice. So we have an offset to the left and the right. They are going down to 0. So the shape is nice. The strength is fine. The Bachtel score is very high. So everything looks perfect. What we want to see in a spectrum to pick such a cycle. There could be another one. This is not as perfect as this one. So therefore, I would clearly go with this weekly long-term cycle first. So let's see what happens if we pick that cycle first. So you know that we are following the long-term rhythm first, which seems to align. Let's move even zoom in here, which seems to align with the final moves here. You know, this is an approach we often use here, so that we align the. I mean, this was skipped, but then. This complete cycle was skipped a beat, but then here a low, top, low, top, low, and now the major, or at least we are in that period here, so where we need to have a closer look. But just the rhythm, the long-term rhythm going back into even 2000, so the past 20 years seems to fit to that cyclic rhythm. So now let's clean up the chart and let's zoom in, and there's a little bit different picture here. So we're not finally there yet from a timing perspective. Yeah, the timing ends here, which is February 2025. This is the perfect or the theoretical top here on the right hand side, but this upward long-term cycle continues into early 2025. So here we need to take into account that the daily cycles are now signaling a reversal or the continuation of the downward phase, which has started 2 weeks, now 4 weeks ago. So this might continue even into the second half of June. However, the long-term upswing from a timing perspective seems not to be completed yet. Yeah, so therefore, that's where I would be careful in calling this the major top in copper, as we have not reached yet the timing point early next year. So zooming out again, looking into the spectrum, let's also cross-check the second long-term cycle here, which is also important. So this is the second one here, which I don't think it's as perfect. But if you put this on the chart, this is bottoming now. So this is now also moving into an upswing period, more or less just now, which even more emphasizes that the long-term cycle seem to continue to show an upward cyclic duration, long-term perspective. And this is another one which is now maybe accelerating the existing 190 weeks cycle here. So this was just viewing these two cycles in isolation. We can also activate both of them, which I will do now. And you see here now, if you overlay both of these cycles, this indicates even a longer period continuation of that upswing into mid next year. So so we are in a very early stage of these two dominant cycles. Yeah, you see this upswing just has started. So and we have another leg to go time-wise until the weekly cycles might conclude. So putting this into perspective, we could see a technical correction due to also the daily cycles, which have a strong downward bias. But I think when the daily cycles start to bottom time-wise and from a technical perspective, then another important upswing in copper is expected to show up even for the second half of this year. So that's the cyclic analysis of copper. We can now move to the price chart to put some technical indicator on top of that. And this is the standard procedure I'm recommending anyhow. So now let's open a price chart. Where's the price chart? Here's the price chart. And what I've just done is I have put a technical indicator, which in this case is the cyclic tuned RSI. As always, this indicator in the basic version is available for free on TradingView, so you can use the same indicator, just a different layout, but it's the same indicator which you can use. I have used the weekly cycle to put as a parameter into that indicator, which helps us to color the background. So when the weekly cycle is in the oversold region, then we have the green background, and when it's in the overbought, we have the red colored background, which indicates the long-term cycles are at a point where the time indicates a turn and price action is in alignment. That's the background coloring. And then you see the standard indicator behavior using the daily cycles, tuning that indicator. And you always see that you can now identify that the important turning points always happen when the weekly cycle is in alignment with the action on the daily cycle. Technical, now we're talking about technical price action. And what is the perfect situation is when you see a signal from that indicator when it comes to crossing from below the band inside the band in a long-term situation which is colored in green, which means this is a buy condition here. And the other way around, when you have this red shaded background and it triggers a crossing from the top, then you have the sell confirmations. Here we had another buy indication at the bottom of 2022, at that low here. But, and this is what I wanted to highlight, we are not in a situation yet where I see the technical situation, the technical price action has not triggered an overbought condition. Otherwise, we would see a red shaded background here. So we have, from a short-term perspective, yes, it is a technical signal which has been triggered and has some more room to the downside, but it has not been triggered in a condition where also the weekly cycles have reached their upside price overbought situation. And this is in alignment with the cycles. The cycles time-wise also suggest that there's more time in the future until early mid-2025 for the weekly cycles to complete the up phase, which at that point in time, if then this shows up with red background, so then we have also the price confirmation. This is a technical price-based analysis. This is not a time-based analysis. So therefore, if this is in combination available, so we have the technical situation on the weekly, which would give us a red or green background here in that kind of indicator. Then we have also the price confirmation, which we don't have yet. So both, now the summary, daily cycle analysis pointing downwards, second half of June, weekly cycles point still upward, cycle continues into 2025, and the technical analysis, all three indicate a short-term downward pressure continuation until maybe late June. But then we could see the reversal into an upward movement from the price action from a time-wise could last into early 2025. And then we need to look out for final confirmation between price action and cycles action. That's it for the analysis of copper. This session was pre-recorded. I need to pre-record today because I have some business appointments which don't allow me to do the live streaming today, but I will follow up on your questions in the YouTube video section. And please do us a favor and subscribe or like our YouTube channel. This will help us to grow. And I will promise to be live again next week, Monday, with another live section. And maybe let me know what you want to see here. So copper was also requested out of the community. So I hope now you also got a little bit indication on copper. As always, this is cycle analysis. This is education on how to analyze cycles. And every Monday, same place, same time, I will be here with you to discuss latest cycle analysis in some financial assets. So I hope you will like and subscribe to the channel so you will not miss a new episode. Otherwise, let me know what you think on copper price action down below. I will check this out later and comment on that. Thanks for joining me today. Have a good week. See you next week. Thanks and bye.